The CIPT was a bit different because it was brand new, shallow concepts. Hello everybody, welcome back to Privacy Professional Training. My name is Fumi Olabi and I'm the founder. Today I wanted to talk about some new techniques that I am personally using as I continue studying for privacy certification. So for anybody that's brand new, I have taken a total of 6 certifications, all in privacy. One of them is like cybersecurity, but I've done a whole video on how I still think it's valuable for us as privacy professionals to consider taking cybersecurity certifications because so much of our work is overlaps with the security industry. So the video for today is the evolution for 2026. Let's only talk about 2026. How am I studying for privacy in 2026? The one change that I think I've made that's most drastic is in the past when I was studying for exams, I would read the textbook through 2 times. The first time I would read the textbook, I would not be reading it for understanding. It would be just to start to familiarize myself with different types of concepts. This year has been a little bit different in that the certification that I'm studying for, which is the CIPT, has introduced many new concepts that I'm unfamiliar with. I started studying for the CIPT exam in January of this year, and I thought I would spend the regular amount of time that I traditionally spend, which is between 2 to 3 months. I generally have never spent more than 2 to 3 months studying for any one certification, but for the CIPT exam, it's actually taken me 4 months. And I wanted to talk about this deviation because I think it might be valuable for you if you're studying for any of these exams. Let's say, for example, you are a privacy technologist and you are studying for a privacy certification that is very law heavy. So it's just something that you can think about when you are writing down your plan for studying. I've done a video on this channel of how I personally plan for my own certifications because I never just go into a certification being like, oh, I know everything. I will take a deep look at the body of knowledge first, and I have a whole video showing you how I schedule out my time, how I determine that. And actually, we're going to touch a little bit on that as well for this video, because I think that I have really evolved the way in which I study. Let's talk about the first way. In January, my intent was to, and you'll see videos of this because I recorded some from January. In January, my anticipation was that I would study 5 hours on Saturday and 5 hours on Sunday. Now, I've done stuff like this in the past where I dedicated my energies at the weekend towards studying for the test. But if you're brand new to my channel, I also run a law firm that specializes in data protection. This year has been particularly busy for me, so I've not been able to concentrate at the weekend. I've wanted to watch British shows on Amazon Prime on the weekend, so it was really difficult to concentrate at the weekend to study for my test. And the first 3 weeks of January, I was getting really distracted, and I realized that 5 hours was too much to dedicate on any one day. So in February, what I did was I changed my schedule. I decided that I would study 2 hours each day, but then I would also still try and study 5 hours at the weekend, hoping that this would motivate me to at least get some stuff done during the week, and then at the weekend try again and do 5 hours. So I wasn't sure if it was that I was forgetting knowledge because I was waiting till the weekend to study it, and I didn't know if I needed a constant daily refresh related to the subject matter. I tried this again in February, and even in February, I was still realizing that there were so many concepts that I still didn't know. The reason being is because I am not a privacy technologist. There's a lot to do with software development. There's a lot of concepts related to software development. There are concepts that are like not things that I traditionally work on a day-to-day. I probably have a foundational understanding of the concept if I needed to, but it's not something that I truly understand quite deeply. For example, the nuances related to different products and how they operate. Code review. I don't do code review for my work, but there's definitely mention of that while you study in the book. What I did in March, after I realized that February also again was not working, was I decided to do 3 hours a day. So it definitely meant that there were certain things in the morning that I had to sacrifice, like not being able to use my Peloton every single day, and getting up in the morning when my brain is most fresh to start reading the book. And that's when I started to really see a change in my understanding of the concepts. Now, I can't tell if my understanding had begun to, I'd started to absorb the newer concepts because I'd now been studying January and February. I don't know if that's the reason, but what I really wanted to talk about today is something else that I've introduced because I really wasn't understanding the concepts and I wasn't sure why. Because it is, again, a privacy certification, but I think the really important thing and takeaway that I want anybody that's watching this, that's considering taking the tests, is that every test is different. I've taken a bunch of these in the past, but when reading for the CIPT test, I realized that the methodology that I used in the past to just cram the law was not going to work because the CIPT isn't focusing on your excellence in memorizing legislation. I interpret statute for a living. That's what I do during the day. So it's very easy for me to memorize and cram that type of information. One, because I use it on a day-to-day basis, and two, I've been doing it for a number of years now. The CIPT was a bit different because it was brand new, shallow concepts. And when I say shallow concepts, I mean you don't need to understand them very in depth, but you do need to have a surface level understanding of many different things. If this was, in my opinion, I would not take this exam as the first privacy certification because I found this very challenging. Let's talk about the new technique that I've used. So I went on Amazon. Amazon is one of my favorite places to find resources because there are other privacy pros that have created resources that you can purchase. For example, some people have textbooks, other people have question papers. I personally have created question papers. Because this is a new exam for me, I don't have question papers for this particular certification yet, but my plan is to create them. I purchased other CIPT questions from other privacy pros that have passed the test. So what I did this time around is I purchased 500 questions, and we know that the IAPP exams are 90 questions and they're about 2.5 hours that you have to fulfill them. What I did was this time around, every single day, I tested my brain on 30 questions. I had 500, every day I did 30. And when I did the 30, I refused to look at the explanation if I got them wrong. All I would do was work through the 30 questions that I had purchased and then find out how many of them I got right. So I would do them, answer them, and then I would go to the answer booklet, the responses, find out what the answer was. If it says A and I clicked A, then it was check and I moved to the next one. I didn't even bother to review what the response was if it's wrong or if it's right. I didn't do that. And then on the weekends, I would write out every response. So I will leave a link to the books that I bought because if you're studying for this test, you might want to accommodate this. If the manner in which you're a privacy pro is also a lawyer like me, you might find that valuable. If it's not that you work in a legal capacity and you actually are a privacy technologist, this might not even be applicable for you. But essentially with privacy professional training, we want to learn how to pass our tests the first time, right? We don't want to have to keep on taking them or taking them again, which is why I'm sharing this brand new technique because I've never done the questions and then written out which answer was right and which answers were wrong and why they're wrong. I did that when I studied for the bar exam many years ago, but I've never done that for any privacy certifications. And the reason I found that valuable is because even if I was getting the answers wrong, it was within my value to revisit concepts that I thought I knew, right? There's a lot of foundational privacy concepts that I thought I knew, like notice and consent, but how they arise for the CIPT exam is in many different contexts, and you need to be able to understand that from a technical perspective. And I'm not a technical privacy pro generally. I am a legal advisory privacy pro. So that's really what I did. I did 30 questions a day, and then I wrote out all the answers on the weekend. So I would see which ones were wrong. Even if I got them right, I would write out the answer because it doesn't hurt to refresh your memory. I didn't want to leave it to chance that, oh, I was just having a lucky guess. I didn't want to be like, I just wanted to act like I knew nothing about privacy technology or anything about privacy technologists, nothing about privacy. If I got the answer right, I wrote out the answer. The answers that were wrong, I wrote those out too, because it doesn't hurt for you to continually refresh yourself on even concepts that you know, even concepts that you don't know, and you know things to a varying degree. So that's what I did this time around, and that's the change that I made for the CIPT exam. And I think going forward, if there's a privacy exam that I'm going to take that is not law heavy, meaning it has similar themes to the CIPT exam and it's looking more at privacy from a technology perspective, I will definitely accommodate and adopt this technique again. So maybe this is a consideration for you. I'll also leave the books that I bought from Amazon in the description below if this is an exam you're currently studying for, because I found the books really helpful and I hope you'll find them helpful too. If you have any other questions about new techniques that I have for the CIPT exam, leave a comment below and I will see you in another video.